Getting a chance to look at these young players and how we can improve our football team. Decided to get going.
How important was it to retain your offensive coordinator for Kirk Cousins' development, keeping the lingo the same system?
Yeah, well, we're changing some of the things. With some of the terminology, we're changing some of the way we do things. We brought Gary Kubiak in as an advisor. A lot of the, Rick Dennison, those guys are, Brian Periani, they're all basically on the same page. And they, so as a collective group, we're putting this all together as a group.
Mike, were you happy with the offensive lineman, especially with the early pick? How much do some of the measurables like arm length and other things factor in?
Yeah. Well, we don't know that we're going to early pick one, but we do have. This is a good group of offensive linemen. Every offensive line coach wants smart guys. They want guys that can move. Some guys like a little bit more power. Some guys like a little bit more athleticism. They all want toughness. Guys that have stamina, can play multiple games and not get hurt. A lot of those things are important. How fast they can move in with the system. So all those things are important. And some of the measurables, obviously, arm length is important as well.
Coach,
Hi, Shireen.
Coach, you mentioned Kubiak earlier. What could that mean for Dalton and Cook and as far as production?
Yeah, well, first of all, I've sat in the meetings every single day. And I've been so impressed with the way the communication's going, the way that Gary talks about, it's almost like romantic for me that I can sit there. There's a sound bite for you. That I can sit there and hear about, Bill Walsh and that offense and how it evolved to Mike Shanahan and so on and so forth. And for me as a football guy, all those things it's just outstanding. How this came about, how that came about. How this play worked in this particular situation and the way that they're putting this all together. I couldn't be any happier the way that situation's been going.
Mike, what are the challenges of cultivating and developing a young kicker?
Yeah, good question. I've thought about that an awful lot with the kicking situation we've had for the 5 years that I've been there. And I think part of it is that we allow them to, especially a young guy, make some mistakes, make sure they understand that we're behind them. But I also have really been thinking hard about trying to get someone. The golfers have a swing coach. Everybody's got coaches now to do these things, and so I've been thinking really, really hard about maybe trying to find a true kickers coach, where that's all he really does.
So what's your balance then between the patience for those mistakes, but also the understanding of urgency to win?
Yeah, that's the fine print. Trying to figure out where that goes. I think it's just going to have to be feel.
Mike, where do you stand on the instant replay and expanding it possibly to include judgment call?
I'm just a soldier. I just do what they tell me to do. My feeling is, we're always trying to get it right. Guys make mistakes sometimes, and just how it goes.
Coach, how impressed were you with Brian Hill, and do you view him as a critical piece going forward for the blue line?
O'Neal,
yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who he was. He did outstanding. He came in and got a lot better throughout the course of the year. He showed a lot of toughness. He's very smart, very athletic. He's got a chance to be a really good player.
Mike, as you talk about how good this offensive line class is, it feels like over the last couple of years, outside of a few studs, that because of the way the spread has evolved and whatnot, the classes haven't been what you would hope. Is it because this class is special, or is it because the NFL standards have adjusted from what is coming out of college that you like this year?
I don't think the NFL has adjusted that much to what has been coming out. I think this is just and every year, a tight end class might be better, or receivers or whatever. I just feel like the guys I've watched on tape so far and the guys I've met in person, this is a pretty good group, and So I think there's going to be some good people to pick from there.
Is there anyone that sticks out for you in the O-line?
No.
You said you wanted to get nastier on the line. How do you judge nastiness? How do you scout nastiness?
I think when you talk about finish, you talk about guys maintaining their block longer. Guys, I mean, you can kind of tell a guy that likes to be a little bit nasty, I think.
Mike, what sort of offensive mind did the Jaguars get in hiring John DeFilippo?
Excuse me?
What sort of offensive mind did the Jaguars get in hiring John DeFilippo as their offensive coordinator?
Flippo's a really good coach. He's very smart, very innovative. I think you'll find out that he's going to do a really good job, move guys around a lot, move them to different spots. He loves the passing game, so I think you're going to find a lot of that.
Is he a guy who can adjust to a run-heavy offense if that's what they want to run?
He's a good coach. He can adjust anything.
Mike, back to the kicker topic for a minute. In what ways does
Which one?
The kicker topic.
Yeah.
In what ways does a previous kicker's struggles impact your patience with a new guy, human nature-wise?
Probably too much. You sit there and you think about, we missed a 27-yard field goal in Seattle in the playoffs, and then this happens, and then you bring a guy and he misses extra points, and then he misses, and then then maybe you're a little bit more jumpy than maybe you should be, I think. Still it goes back to, and, it's like everything else. You might overreact and then you underreact, and you just got to try to figure it out the right way.
What's the challenge for a player in sort of inheriting someone else's baggage when they come in that regard?
Yeah, well, make the kicks.
You talked about hiring a kicker coach. How hard is that to find? I know there's some Michael Hughes fans and guys like that out there. Is that a difficult thing to find?
Yeah, it is. Most of them are former kickers that you're talking to or things like that. So we'll just have to see if I can find the right one. And those guys have to fit in with the rest of the staff as well too.
And Mike covered the Panthers, but Ron Rivera's taken over the defensive play calling. What are the challenges as a head coach calling defense, and are there any that are inherent to the defensive-minded coach that an offensive guy would?
Ron and I just talked about that a little bit. The challenges are that, at least for me, I don't know what his challenges would be, but during the season when I'm calling a game, you have to spend an awful lot of time game planning with the defense, and so you're spending 90% of the time with the defense in those situations, and maybe you don't get around to the offense and special teams as much as you would like to. During the course of the game, it's not as, it's difficult, but it's not, you quickly look at the iPad when they hand it to you, and then you try to get over to the offense and go from there. But it can be done. We'll just, I hope Ron's a great coach, and so hopefully it works for him.
Some of those challenges too. Is that why we don't see as many head coaches with the defensive background calling the defense?
I don't know that. I know a lot of guys call the offense because that's what they've always done, and I don't know why. I did it like that because I felt like that was the best way to help this football team initially.
Mike, what was the driving force behind Gary Kubiak hiring him? And is there any concern about a guy who's been out of football for a couple of years now?
No, because he actually has been watching football for, on tape with the personnel and helping them with the coaching for the last 2 years. So, no, there's no honestly, I felt like he was the best guy all along. Rick put down a list of who my top guys were, and he was number one.
With coaching and players, how do you?
Excuse me?
With coaching and players, how do you feel about the alliance and the XFL and being able to see people get better in a different league and possibly be able to get called up to the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's great. I was sitting in a meeting this morning and I just thinking about how much better a lot of players get between year 2 and year 3 of where they can get to. And if they come in 1 year and they're out because they're a practice squad and they wouldn't quite make it, you know, they might not ever have that opportunity. But we've had so many players get so much better, especially between year 2 and year 3, that I think it's a great opportunity for them, and I think it's great for the league.
Mike, with more defenses employing 6, 7, even 8 defensive backs, does that make that tweener guy not quite a cornerback or a safety? Does that bring him more value now?
You know, I think there's always kind of been a stigma, I guess it is. Stigmatism is your eye, right? We don't want to talk about that. The stigma about smaller corners. They always kind of put, okay, you're a nickelback. You're a nickelback. You know, where we try not to do that, but the league has become so much of a throwing league now that you have to have, and defensive backs, for some reason, they get hurt. And so, you know, you have to have a lot of those guys because it comes down to, a lot of these games come down to coverage and how well they can play. So that position is extremely important. Whether, you know, and you always want them big, you know, long arms and can run and all those things, but they're not always like that. So you're just finding best guys you can find.
Mike, talk about your division. All of a sudden, in 2 years, 3 new head coaches, first-time coaches, and is it kind of tough to figure out what LaFleur is going to be as an offensive head coach?
Yeah, you know, I haven't really thought too much about the systems that they're going to run. You know, we're really focused on ourselves right now. But it's a heck of a division. You know, we've got great quarterbacks in there. We've got really good defenses in there, and good coaches. So, you know, we're just going to get out there and tee it up, and let's see what happens.
What was the biggest change with Alexander this year in his step forward in coverage?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing was the way he approached being a professional. You know, earlier in his career, he was a little bit, he had all the answers maybe, and now he thinks somebody else might have some.
Hey, Coach, back to Kubiak. Do you see any synergy there with Kirk Cousins, given the, you know, the Kyle Shanahan connection there? And speaking of Kirk, did you grade him a little bit on the curve at all last year? What did you think of his performance, given the O-line problems?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's definitely going to help Kirk. You know, the system, the terminology, the things he's done really well with the Shanahans and with Kyle and Coach Shanahan. So that definitely is going to help. You know, and as far as Kirk, one of the things that, and I think he had a good year. I think, you know, because he signed a big contract, everybody's on his rear end about this, and we didn't win enough games, and, you know, same with me, I guess. But the big thing is that every free agent I've ever had through my 25 or 6 or however many years I've been coaching, they've always played better the second year. They have to learn where everything is. They have to find a place to live. I mean, it's just I mean, you can go through our free agents. Captain Munderland, when he was with us, you know, second year. Linville Joseph, second year. I mean, all these guys typically are, when they come in, you know, they don't know anybody. They don't know where their locker is, any of this stuff. And you throw that in with new terminology, you know, whatever. But I think he's going to play great.
Mike, from the head coach's perch, what have you come to appreciate about the challenges in sustaining success once you have it for the first time?
Yeah, it's tough, and I got to do a better job of figuring out how, you know, we go from 13-3 to 8-7-1. I got to figure that out better. I've got some ideas that, you know, I'm going to try to be more resourceful this year, especially in some of those areas. But, you know, consistency in this league, that's what it's all about. You know, and then, you know, we miss a field goal at the end in Green Bay, or we're in the playoffs anyway. So, you know, then maybe it's not quite as bad. But, you know, we didn't live up to our expectations, and I have to do a better job there.
Do you have specific ideas of what caused that as you've reflected?
I have a lot of things, but if you go back and you look at, you know, our turnovers, we had 43 points scored on us when the defense wasn't on the field. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things like that showed up, and really at the end of the day, it's a lot of those kind of things. But I mean, there's some other things too I've thought about. You know, I need to do differently.
Do you expect Sheldon Richardson to be back?
Last question.
Oh. Do you expect Sheldon Richardson to be back?
You know, I think with him, it's the same with Anthony Barr. We would love to have them both back. The question is where's the market going to go, and can we afford them? If we can afford them, we're going to bring them back. And if we can't afford them, then we're going to have to move on, unfortunately. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mike.